Hello, everyone. A lot of players misunderstand the idea of roaming in Siege. Many ranked players think that when you roam, you're playing outside of the site to get kills. In reality, roaming is overall about wasting attackers' time. If you ever watch a Pro League match, you'll notice that most of the time, any roamers playing outside of the site are never too far away, usually have someone helping them, and always have an escape plan. Plenty of roamers in ranked games die too early due to a fundamental misunderstanding of what it means to roam. Roaming, conceptually, is extending map control outside of the site, forcing attackers to clear you, which wastes time and utility. If they don't do that, the pressure you are forcing on them will give you a major advantage in the round. You are more than just an operator outside a site going for kills. You want to make the attackers deal with you and make it difficult for them to do so. A common misconception when it comes to roaming is that you need to play far from site, but really, roaming is just playing outside of the site. You could be playing above an objective, playing vertical, and that's roaming. Or you could be playing across the map, and that's roaming too. I think the three important roamer types to understand is a deep roam, a close or shallow roam, and a bridge. Let's start with a mistake that most players are making in the game. Overall, the biggest and honestly, really the only mistake you're going to make as a roamer is just dying early. This usually happens when players do not understand when or where to take their fights. That's a whole concept in and of itself, but the general idea is that you're dying too easily. Overpeaking, isolating yourself, and taking unfavorable gunfights can all lead you to dying early. But dying's not always a bad thing. Dying without making it worth it is a bad thing. Determining what is a worthwhile death depends on the situation, but dying as a roamer with 45 seconds on the clock versus 2 minutes left on the clock can be the difference in a round. You want to roam to waste time and utility, not for kills. So, to roam better, you want to roam with intent. Good roamers are not playing for kills and sitting in the same two rooms all round, looking for a big flank. They are starting in one area of the map, shooting some drones, and falling back. Usually, you have support from your teammates with some utility, info from cams, or crossfires. No matter the roam you're doing, all of these concepts apply. You want to waste the attacker's time as much as you can. Force them to drone more, use more utility, or even rotate someone over to help deal with you. Creating uncertainty on the map will cause the attack to slow down to a halt, since they don't even know where you're at. So, why does this all matter? Well, the attackers are working against the clock to get a lot of things done. If you can start throwing wrenches in their gears, it makes their attacks that much harder. I'm sure you can think about a time you were attacking and there was a vigil roaming around somewhere on the map giving you a hard time. And by the time you dealt with him, there was barely a minute left on the clock. If the attackers have more time to do the things they need to do, like play vertical, open sight lines, and prep their execute, then you're doing something wrong with your defenses. You can't give the time to attackers so they can set up for an execute. Think about the amount of things some attacks need to accomplish. And if they are now having to work against the clock more than they already are, it's going to make their attack that much more difficult. As a defender, you have the advantage of having the clock on your side. I know some coaches and pro players talk about having the clock as a sort of sixth player on your team, and you can definitely think about it like that. While it's not a teammate in the sense that it's shooting drones or setting up sight, it creates pressure for the attackers and makes them have to constantly work towards something. The thing is, though, is you have to work with the clock for it to be useful. Imagine you have like a 5-man anchor, and the attackers find that out quickly. They'll be squeezing sight with so much time left on the clock. Now let's talk about the different kinds of roams. A deep roamer is what most players think about when they think about roaming. You are playing Vigil pretty far from sight, you don't usually have a teammate that close to you, able to help you out, and little to no utility supporting your position. Generally, the idea you are playing with is waiting near an attacker entry point, shooting some drones as they come in, and falling back towards sight. I talked about this in my power positions video a little bit, but that's the gist of it. Shoot drones, fall back to the next room, shoot drones, fall back to the next room until you get to sight. This type of roaming may seem like the most fun to do, or maybe even the easiest to do, but you need to keep in mind that you are the most isolated defender on the map. You're easy to cut off, so knowing when to leave is important. Even wasting 30 to 45 seconds can be valuable in a round. An in-game example would look like this. Consider the site setup and how our defense is playing the map right now. We have a 4-1 defense, meaning that there's 4 people in sight anchoring, and there's 1 vigil outside of sight. Vigil is pretty far away from sight, all the way in rafters, so this is a pretty deep roam. There's no one supporting them with a crossfire or any utility, it's just them. And given that this roam is pretty deep, the attackers pretty much need to handle it in order to push into sight, otherwise they're going to get flanked, which is exactly what happened in this clip. They didn't properly drone out the Vigil, they didn't take their time to clear him, and because of that, Vigil was able to punish them and get a free kill. I also want to point out that not every deep roam needs to go like this. You don't need to run through rafters and get a kill on some unsuspecting attacker in oil pit. If you can, that's great, but it's not worth dying for to get. It's a risky play, but in the end, they got the kill, and that's great. But I want you to keep in mind that you don't have to do this every time. It's just as effective to shoot a couple drones and maybe fall back towards the main stairs side of the map. The next kind of roam is a close or a shallow roam, which is much closer to sight. Usually just an extension into an area around the site. So while you're still playing sight, you just aren't doing it from inside the rooms itself. Think of a bordered top floor hold. You can extend into security, which is only a room away from the objective, but would definitely be considered roaming if you played there. The main difference between a shallow roam and a deep roam is how far you are from the site. These kinds of roams are much easier to support with utility, rotates, and support from teammates. This kind of roaming is usually much safer than a deep roam and is generally the type of playstyle you should be leaning towards. So, in a round, this is kind of what that looks like. I'm playing Thorn here on Fortress, and the site is office bathroom. I'm over here on the game side, and I see that there's a drone holding the cutoff. So I know that the attackers are probably going to be pushing from this old tower side. I wait here for a little bit just to hear some things, and I definitely hear the attackers on the roof above me, so I sit here and wait for a little bit to see if they start droning it out. Of course, the attackers are going to start droning it out, and instead of just running away right away or swinging anything, I'm playing pretty safe inside of games, and I shoot a couple drones. You can see here, I shoot a drone, fall back, shoot a drone, and I fall back. I'm not playing for kills, I'm not trying to swing and fight anybody, I'm just shooting a couple drones and falling back. So, what are the implications of me shooting those drones and falling back? Well, a minute into the round, the attackers have taken that vending hall old tower side of the map, but they're not even in games yet. They're still having to drone it out, check their angles, and make sure it's clear. Right here, they're barely walking into games, and I've been long gone for at least 30 seconds now. They're having to re-drone everything, make sure it's clear, because I shot their drones and went back. It takes them almost halfway through the round to barely get into games and start pushing into briefing, which I'm also contesting. The idea here was that I'm just trying to waste their time. I didn't take a single gunfight, and it took the attackers half the round to even start pushing towards the objective. The last kind of roam is what's called a bridge. This term is usually used more in competitive play, but it's the player that plays between site and the roamer. This player can either rotate quickly back to site if attackers are pushing site hard, or rotate to help a deeper or shallow roamer if they're being pushed heavily. This position is essentially the glue in the defenses. You rotate to support the gaps in your defense, and that's going to win you rounds. Another way to think about it is it's just a player that's going to rotate around the map to wherever the most help is needed. That may even be from one anchor position to another, like rafters to cache on Clubhouse. This position here in Lounge is what you would call a bridge. I'm playing in Lounge, supporting my Azami in rafters through the holes in the wall, and I'm able to support my team by going up red stairs if needed. It just depends on where the attackers are pushing from. If they push bottom garage, like they do in this clip, then I'll be able to use these head holes to support my teammate. Say they were pushing through the cache side or they needed help top red, I could just as easily run up red stairs. It just depends on where the team needs help. So as a defender, roaming is great, but as an attacker, it's a pain if you don't know how to deal with it. Well, let's learn how to deal with it. The easiest roam to deal with is going to be a deep roam, especially when the defender is aggressive and doesn't fall back appropriately. Roam clear definitely has some variables that you need to consider when doing it: the map and site, the site setup, and how many roamers there are, and where the roamers are even playing at. But regardless of the situation, the overall idea is the same. Gather intel, create cutoff angles, pressure the roamer, and force them to either fall back or take an unfavorable gunfight. You don't always need to kill the roamer, rather safely taking map control they're contesting. Before this clip starts, I want to give a little bit of insight as to kind of what's going on in the round, because the clip kind of plays a little fast. So I have a cutoff drone on top of the elevator on second floor, watching so that if anybody comes up lobby stairs or main stairs, I'll see it. Usually what I do is I place this at the beginning of the round so my teammate can just repel in the CEO windows and we don't have to clear the top floor with droning. Well, I watch as a defender runs up main stairs and they run into stock. And because of that, and I know that on the cutoff drone, we can kind of hold them in there and then we pressure them out and get the kill. You'll see in the clip, and it plays a little fast, so I wanted to give a little bit of insight before the clip went. Now looking at an in-game example of this, right here I have a cutoff drone on bank on top floor. I can pretty much see if anybody comes upstairs, and what happens is a Jaeger comes right up the main stairs and runs straight into stock. The Nomad on my team in long desk is going to hold the cutoff angle for this Jaeger laying down in stock. Okay, so the Jaeger has nowhere to go. As the Nomad holds that angle, I'm going to start running up towards the stock windows to create pressure onto this defender in there. Shooting open the windows, using utility if I need to. I end up throwing a drone in there to pressure the defender, and if you watched my droning video, you know that sometimes just drones can create pressure. I couldn't have even shot this guy, but the drone did it. He runs away and straight into the cutoff where the Nomad is just waiting for him. It's a free kill. So, to recap, roaming is not always about kills, but wasting the time of the attackers. Shoot some drones, fall back, and kill some time. Whether it's a deep or a shallow roam, you just want to waste time and force the attackers to have to use their utility to take map control. Remember, nothing is free, and anything the attackers should have to do, it should be difficult for them to do it. I hope you learned something new, and thank you for your time.